Have you ever left a meeting where everyone seemed to agree on something, only to find out, a week later that you all had totally different ideas of what done or success actually meant? It happens all the time, right? And it's a huge source of waste. Well, today we're diving into a really powerful concept from the book Profound Stories that solves this exact problem. It's called the operational definition. And trust me, once you see it, you're going to see the need for it everywhere. So, here's our plan. We're going to start with a problem that looks deceptively simple. Then we'll trace the idea all the way back to a Nobel-winning physicist and see how a management legend turned it into a practical tool anyone can use. And finally, we'll show you exactly how to apply it yourself. All right, first step, the devil in the details. Let's dig into how easily the simplest questions can just lead to complete and utter confusion.
Okay, let's start with what seems like a ridiculously easy question. How many people are in this room? Simple, right? You just count them. But as the book points out, the right answer isn't so clear-cut.
It turns out the answer depends entirely on why you're asking the question in the first place. I mean, if you're just taking attendance for class, you'd count one way. But if you're ordering food for lunch, you need a totally different number. It's the same room, same group of people, but the purpose completely changes the answer. And this is where all the confusion begins. And this is the core idea right here. The why is every bit as important as the how. If two people have a different why in their heads, they're going to get different answers. They'll argue about who's right, and they'll just waste a ton of valuable time. It turns out this whole problem of meaning and definition isn't new. To find where the solution came from, we actually have to go all the way back to a Nobel Prize-winning physicist named Percy Williams Bridgman. So Bridgman was fascinated by these kinds of questions that really push the limits of our concepts, like this one: what's north of the North Pole? It sounds kind of like a riddle, but it's actually a really profound question about meaning itself. The whole concept of north just breaks down at that point. It literally becomes meaningless. This is the kind of deep thinking that really drove his work. And make no mistake, Bridgman was a true heavyweight. We're talking about a Nobel Prize winner who was studying materials under 1.5 million pounds per square inch. That's about 100,000 times the air pressure you're feeling right now. It's insane. His work actually led to the creation of synthetic diamonds, and he even taught J. Robert Oppenheimer as an undergrad. So yeah, this is the kind of brilliant mind that W. Edwards Deming looked to for inspiration. And all this led to his big idea, operationalism. Basically, it says that a concept is only meaningful if you can define the operations, the actual physical steps you'd use to measure it. For Bridgman, if you can't measure it, you can't even really talk about it in a meaningful way. And this brings us to the great W. Edwards Deming. What he did was take Bridgman's really profound scientific philosophy and turn it into a super practical framework that anyone in business or manufacturing could use to just get rid of ambiguity. Deming loved to use this example. Let's say you order a 50% wool blanket. What does that even mean? What do you get? Is it like wool on one side and cotton on the other? Is it a blend? Is it 50% by weight, by volume, by surface area? Without a really clear definition, that specification is pretty much useless. So to solve this, Deming came up with this beautifully simple three-part framework. First, you need a specification. What exactly are you measuring? Second, a criterion. How are you going to measure it? And third, a decision. How are you going to judge the final result? Let's just apply this to our blanket. The specification is easy enough, a 50% wool blanket. Now, the criterion gets specific. We'll say 50% of the woven fabric per square inch has to be wool. Bam! Now we have a real test. And the decision part asks what's acceptable. Is 49.9% okay? What about 48%? This is where you set those clear, agreed-upon limits. And just like that, the ambiguity just vanishes. So, what does this all mean for you? Let's talk about putting this incredibly powerful tool to work in your day-to-day life and work. Look, the stakes here are actually really high. Whenever terms aren't operationally defined, the result is always waste. Wasted time, wasted money, and just endless arguments because people are all working towards different unstated goals. So here's your first action item. The very next time you're in a project meeting, just stop and ask the team to operationally define the word done. What's the specification? What's the criterion? And what's the decision for a task to be officially complete? Write it down. This simple act can be absolutely transformative. And the same thing goes for performance goals. I mean, what does success actually look like? Don't just say increase sales. Operationally define it.
By how much? Measured how often? And what's the acceptable variance? You gotta get specific.
And this one is huge. And it goes right back to Deming's roots. Everybody says they want high quality, but what does that mean? Is it the defect rate? Is it customer satisfaction scores? Is it uptime? If you don't define it, you can't possibly achieve it, and you sure as heck can't improve it. So, who do we have to thank for bringing all these powerful ideas together? Let's take a quick look at the authors who put them together in Profound Stories.
John Willis is an absolute giant in the IT and DevOps world. We're talking over 35 years of experience, and he's a co-author of the legendary DevOps Handbook. And Derek Lewis is a seasoned author who helps experts like John translate all their deep knowledge into really accessible books. Together, they've created an amazing resource in Profound Stories.
If this has piqued your interest at all, I highly, highly recommend checking out their work and all the other fantastic titles over at itrevolution.com. It's a real treasure trove for anyone who's looking to improve the way they work.
And I'll leave you with this question to chew on. What's that one word, maybe it's done, or quality, or urgent, that everyone in your workplace uses all the time, but if you actually asked 10 different people to define it, you'd get 10 different answers? That is your first target for an operational definition.